George V. George V was King of the United Kingdom and the British Dominions, and Emperor of India from 6 May 1910 until his death in 1936. Born during the reign of his grandmother, Queen Victoria, George was third in the line of succession behind his father, Prince Albert Edward, and his own elder brother, Prince Albert Victor. From 1877 to 1891, George served in the Royal Navy until the unexpected death of his elder brother in early 1892 put him directly in line for the throne. On the death of his grandmother in 1901, George's father ascended the throne as Edward VII, and George was created Prince of Wales. He became King Emperor on his father's death in 1910. George V's reign saw the rise of socialism, communism, fascism, Irish republicanism, and the Indian independence movement, all of which radically changed the political landscape. The Parliament Act of 1911 established the supremacy of the elected British House of Commons over the unelected House of Lords. As a result of the First World War, 1914 to 1918, the empires of his first cousin Nicholas II of Russia and Wilhelm II of Germany fell, while the British Empire expanded to its greatest effective extent. In 1917, George became the first monarch of the House of Windsor, which he renamed from the House of Saxon-Coburg and Gotha as a result of anti-German public sentiment. In 1924, he appointed the first labor ministry, and in 1931, the Statute of Westminster recognized the dominions of the empire as separate, independent states within the Commonwealth of Nations. He had smoking-related health problems throughout much of his later reign, and at his death was succeeded by his eldest son, Edward VIII. Mary, Queen of Teck. Mary, Queen of Teck, was Queen Consort of the United Kingdom and the British Dominions and Empress Consort of India as the wife of King George V. Although technically a Princess of Teck in the Kingdom of Württemberg, she was born and raised in the United Kingdom. Her parents were Francis, Duke of Teck, who was of German extraction, and Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, who was a granddaughter of King George III. She was informally known as May, after her birth month. At the age of 24, she was betrothed to her second cousin once removed, Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence and Avondale, the eldest son of the Prince of Wales. But 6 weeks after the announcement of the engagement, he died unexpectedly during an influenza pandemic. The following year, she became engaged to Prince Victor's next surviving brother, George, who subsequently became king. Before her husband's ascension, she was successfully Duchess of York, Duchess of Cornwall, and Princess of Wales. As Queen Consort from 1910, she supported her husband through the First World War, his ill health, and major political changes arising from the aftermath of the war. After George's death in 1936, she became Queen Mother when her eldest son, Edward VIII, ascended the throne, but to her dismay, he abdicated later the same year in order to marry twice-divorced American socialite Wallis Simpson. She supported her second son, George VI, until his death in 1952. She died the following year during the reign of her granddaughter, Elizabeth II, who had not yet been crowned. Edward VIII. Edward VIII was King of the United Kingdom and the dominions of the British Empire and Emperor of India from 20 January 1936 until his abdication on 11 December the same year, after which he became the Duke of Windsor. Edward was the eldest son of King George V and Queen Mary. He was created Prince of Wales on his 16th birthday, 9 weeks after his father succeeded as king. As a young man, he served in the British Army during the First World War and undertook several overseas tours on behalf of his father. Edward became king on his father's death in early 1936. However, he showed impatience with court protocol and caused concern among politicians by his apparent disregard for established constitutional conventions. Only months into his reign, he caused a constitutional crisis by proposing to Wallis Simpson, an American who had divorced her first husband and was seeking a divorce from her second. The prime ministers of the United Kingdom and the Dominions opposed the marriage, arguing a divorced woman with 2 living ex-husbands was politically and socially unacceptable as a prospect queen consort. Additionally, such a marriage would have conflicted with Edward's status as the titular head of the Church of England, which at the time disapproved of remarriage after divorce if a former spouse was still alive. Edward knew the British government, led by Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin, would resign if the marriage went ahead, which could have forced a general election and would ruin his status as a politically neutral constitutional monarch. When it became apparent he could not marry Wallis and remain on the throne, Edward abdicated. He was succeeded by his younger brother, George VI. With a reign of 326 days, Edward is one of the shortest reigning monarchs in British history. After his abdication, he was created Duke of Windsor. He married Wallis in France on the 3rd of June, 1937. After her second divorce became final. Later that year, the couple toured Germany. During the Second World War, he was at first stationed with the British military mission to France, but after private accusations that he held Nazi sympathies, he was appointed governor of the Bahamas. After the war, Edward spent the rest of his life in retirement in France. Edward and Wallis remained married until his death in 1972. Princess Mary. Mary, Princess Royale and Countess of Harewood, was a member of the British royal family. She was the 3rd child and only daughter of King George V and Queen Mary, and was born during the reign of Queen Victoria, her great-grandmother. Mary was the paternal aunt of the current British monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Her education started at home. World War I brought Mary out of seclusion as she launched a charity campaign to support British troops and sailors. She eventually became a nurse. Mary married Viscount Lascelles, later the Earl of Harewood, in 1922. She was an avid collector of jewelry. Prince John. Prince John of the United Kingdom was the 5th son and youngest of the 6 children born to King George V and his wife, Queen Mary. At the time of John's birth, his father was the Prince of Wales, and heir apparent to the reigning monarch of the United Kingdom, King Edward VII. In 1910, George succeeded to the throne upon Edward's death, and John became 5th in the line of succession to the British throne. In 1909, John was discovered to have epilepsy. As his condition deteriorated, he was sent to live at Sandringham House and was kept away from the public eye. There he was cared for by his governess, Layla Bill, and befriended local children whom his mother had gathered to be his playmates. Prince John died at Sandringham in 1919. Following a severe seizure, and was buried at nearby St. Mary Magdalene Church. His illness was disclosed to the wider public only after his death. Prince John's alleged seclusion has subsequently been brought forward as evidence for the inhumanity of the royal family. However, records show that the prince was in some ways given favorable treatment by his parents in comparison with his siblings, and contrary to the belief that he was hidden from the public from an early age, John for most of his life was a fully fledged member of the family, appearing frequently in public until after his 11th birthday. His long-acknowledged learning disability and a possible intellectual disability have both been linked to his severe epilepsy. Recent speculation finds some behaviors consistent with autism. Prince Henry. Prince Henry, Duke of Gloucester, was the third son and fourth child of King George V and Queen Mary. He served as Governor-General of Australia from 1945 to 1947, the only member of the British royal family to hold the post. Henry was the first son of a British monarch to be educated at school, where he excelled at sports and went on to attend Eton College, after which he was commissioned in the 10th Royal Hussars, a regiment he hoped to command. But his military career was interrupted by royal duties, and he was nicknamed the Unknown Soldier. While big game shooting in Kenya, he met the future aviator Beryl Markham, with whom he became romantically involved. The court put pressure on him to end the relationship, but had to pay regular hush money to avert a public scandal. In 1935, also under parental pressure, he married Lady Alice Montague Douglas Scott, with whom he had two sons, Prince William and Richard. From 1939 to 1940, Henry served in France as a liaison officer to Lord Gort. He performed military and diplomatic duties during the rest of the war, then in 1945 was appointed as Australia's Governor-General at the request of Prime Minister John Curtin. The post had originally been offered to his younger brother, the Duke of Kent, who died in an air crash. Henry attended the coronation of his niece Queen Elizabeth II in 1953 and carried out several overseas tours, often accompanied by his wife. From 1965, he became incapacitated by a number of strokes. Upon his death, he was succeeded as the Duke of Gloucester by his only living son, Richard. At the time of his death, Prince Henry was the last surviving child of King George V and Queen Mary. His widow, who died at the age of 102, became the longest-lived member of the royal family in history. King George VI. George VI was King of the United Kingdom and the dominions of the British Commonwealth from 11 December 1936 until his death on 6 February 1952. He was the last Emperor of India and the first head of the Commonwealth. Known publicly as Albert until his ascension, and Bertie among his family and close friends, George VI was born in the reign of his great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, and was named after his great-grandfather, Albert, Prince Consort. As the second son of King George V, he was not expected to inherit the throne and spent his early life in the shadow of his elder brother, Edward. He attended Naval College as a teenager and served in the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force during the First World War. In 1920, he was made Duke of York. He married Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon in 1923, and they had two daughters, Elizabeth and Margaret. In the mid-1920s, he had speech therapy for a stammer, which he never fully overcame. George's elder brother ascended the throne as Edward VIII upon the death of their father in 1936. However, later that year, Edward revealed his desire to marry divorced American socialite Wallis Simpson. British Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin advised Edward that, for political and religious reasons, he could not marry a divorced woman and remain king. Edward abdicated to marry Simpson, and George ascended the throne as the third monarch of the House of Windsor. During George's reign, the breakup of the British Empire and its transition from the Commonwealth of Nations accelerated. The Parliament of the Irish Free State removed direct mention of the monarch from the country's constitution on the day of his accession. The following year, a new Irish constitution changed the name of the state to Ireland and established the office of president. From 1939, the Empire and Commonwealth, except Ireland, was at war with Nazi Germany. War with Italy and Japan followed in 1940 and 1941, respectively. Though Britain and its allies were ultimately victorious in 1945, the United States and the Soviet Union rose as preeminent world powers, and the British Empire declined. After the independence of India and Pakistan in 1947, George remained king of both countries, but relinquished the title of Emperor of India in June 1948. Ireland formally declared itself a republic and left the Commonwealth in 1949, and India became a republic within the Commonwealth the following year. George adopted the new title of Head of the Commonwealth. He was beset by smoking-related health problems in the later years of his reign. On his death, he was succeeded by his elder daughter, Elizabeth II. Princess Marina. Princess Marina was born in Athens, Greece, on 13 December 1906. Her father was Prince Nicholas of Greece and Denmark, the third son of George I of Greece. Her mother was Grand Duchess Elena Vladimirovna of Russia, a granddaughter of Emperor Alexander II of Russia. She was the youngest of the couple's children. One of her paternal uncles was Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark, the father of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. She was baptized near the end of 1906, and her godparents were King George I of Greece, her paternal grandfather, King Edward VII of the United Kingdom, her great-uncle by marriage, Mary of Teck, the Princess of Wales, Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark, her paternal uncle, Grand Duke Boris Vladimirovich of Russia, her maternal uncle, and Grand Duchess Victoria Fyodorovna of Russia, her maternal aunt. Marina spent her early years in Greece and lived with her parents and paternal grandparents at Tatwa Palace. Along with her sisters, she was raised to be devout and religious, which was encouraged by her grandmother, Queen Olga of Greece. Marina's family traveled outside of Greece often, especially during the summer months. Her first recorded visit to Britain was in 1910 after the death of her godfather, Edward VII. She officially met her other godmother and future mother-in-law, Mary of Teck, then Queen Mary, who treated Marina and her sisters like her own children. The Greek royal family was forced into exile when Marina was 11, following the overthrow of the Greek monarchy. They later moved to Paris, while the princess stayed with her extended family throughout Europe. After her husband's death, the Duchess of Kent continued to be an active member of the British royal family, carrying out a wide range of royal and official engagements. She was president of the Wimbledon All-England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club for 26 years. She was also the president of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution from 1943 until her death, and was awarded the RNLI's Gold Medal in 1967 to mark this contribution. One of her first cousins was Prince Philip, later the Duke of Edinburgh, who married her niece, the future Queen Elizabeth II, in 1947. She served as the first Chancellor of the University of Kent at Canterbury from 1963 until her death from a brain tumor at Kensington Palace at 11:40 a.m. on 27 August 1968, aged 61. Funeral service for the princess was held at the St. George's Chapel on 30 August. She was buried in the Royal Burial Ground, Frogmore. Her funeral was the final royal ceremony attended by her brother-in-law, the former Edward VIII. The Queen Mother. Elizabeth Angela Marguerite Bowes-Lyon, known as Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, or just the Queen Mother, was the wife of King George VI of the United Kingdom from 1936 until his death in 1952. After her husband's death, she was known as Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, so that she would not be confused with her elder daughter, Queen Elizabeth II. Before her husband became king from 1923 to 1936, she was known as the Duchess of York. She was the last Queen Consort of Ireland and Empress Consort of India. Her family belonged to the Scottish nobility. Her father was the 14th Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn. In 1923, she became known to everyone when she married Albert, Duke of York, the second son of George V and Queen Mary. She was loved by the British people as she became a figure of family life. They had two daughters, the then Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. She was known as the Smiling Duchess. In 1936, her husband unexpectedly became king when her brother-in-law, Edward VIII, abdicated because he wanted to marry an American lady, Wallis Simpson, who had been divorced. The king was known as King George VI. As his wife, she had the title of Queen Consort. She went with her husband on official tours to France and North America. During World War II, she supported the British public with great courage. After the war, the king became ill and died in 1952. She was then 51, and she lived for another 50 years. As the mother of the Queen, grandmother to the Queen's 4 children, and later great-grandmother, she continued to be a popular member of the royal family. The Queen Mother had an appendectomy in 1964, colon cancer removed in 1966, and breast cancer removed in 1984. The death of her younger daughter, Princess Margaret, on 9th February 2002, was a sad event for her. She died 7 weeks later at the age of 101. She was the first member of the British royal family to live past the age of 100. Prince William. Prince William of Gloucester was a grandson of King George V and paternal cousin of Elizabeth II. At the time of his birth, he was the 4th in line to the throne. A Cambridge and Stanford graduate, he joined the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, serving in Lagos and Tokyo before returning to take over royal duties. He led an active life, flying Piper aircraft, trekking through the Sahara, and even ballooning. He remains the most recent descendant of George III to be diagnosed with porphyria, probably hereditary, which is widely believed to be the illness that most likely caused George III's mental breakdown. Prince William died in 1972, aged 30, in an air crash while piloting his plane in a competition. Prince Richard. Prince Richard, Duke of Gloucester, is the youngest grandchild of King George V and Queen Mary. He practiced as an architect until the death of his elder brother placed him in direct line to inherit his father's dukedom of Gloucester, which he inherited as the second Duke in 1974. He is a paternal cousin of Queen Elizabeth II and currently 27th in the line of succession to the British throne, as well as the first in line not descended from King George VI. He is also the senior male line descendant of 3 British monarchs, Victoria, Edward VII, and George V. Prince Richard was born in St. Matthew's Nursing Home in Northampton on 26 August 1944. His father was Prince Henry, Duke of Gloucester, the 3rd son of George V and Queen Mary. His mother was Princess Alice, Duchess of Gloucester, née Lady Alice Montague Douglas Scott, a daughter of the 7th Duke of Buccleuch and Lady Margaret Bridgeman. He was baptized at the Royal Chapel of All Saints in Windsor Great Park on 20 October 1944 by the retired Archbishop of Canterbury, Cosmo Gordon Lang. When Richard was 4 months old, he accompanied his parents to Australia, where his father served as Governor-General from 1945 to 1947. The family returned to Barnwell Manor in 1947, where Richard was largely raised. At the time of his birth, he was 5th in the line of succession to the throne and 2nd in line to his father's dukedom, behind his brother, Prince William of Gloucester. He is 27th in line to the throne as of May 2019. William died in 1972 when the plane he was piloting crashed at Halfpenny Green near Wolverhampton. Richard then became heir apparent to his father's dukedom and inherited it 2 years later upon the death of the first duke. Queen Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II is the Queen of the United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms. Elizabeth was born in London as the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, later King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, and she was educated privately at home. Her father acceded to the throne on abdication of his brother King Edward VIII in 1936, from which time she was the heir presumptive. She began to undertake public duties during the Second World War, serving in the Auxiliary Territorial Service. In 1947, she married Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, a former Prince of Greece and Denmark, with whom she has 4 children: Charles, Prince of Wales; Anne, Princess Royal; Prince Andrew, Duke of York; and Prince Edward, Earl of Wessex. When her father died in February 1952, Elizabeth became head of the Commonwealth and Queen Regnant of 7 independent Commonwealth countries: the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon. She has reigned as a constitutional monarch through major political changes, such as devolution in the United Kingdom, Canadian patriation, and the decolonization of Africa. Between 1956 and 1992, the number of her realms varied as territories gained independence and realms including South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, renamed Sri Lanka, became republics. Her many historic visits and meetings include a state visit to the Republic of Ireland and visits to or from 5 popes. Significant events have included her coronation in 1953 and the celebration of her silver, golden, and diamond jubilees in 1977, 2002, and 2012, respectively. In 2017, she became the first British monarch to reach a sapphire jubilee. She is the longest-lived and longest-reigning British monarch, as well as the world's longest-serving female head of state, oldest living monarch, longest reigning current monarch, and the oldest and longest serving current head of state. Elizabeth has occasionally faced Republican sentiments and press criticism of the royal family, in particular after the breakdown of her children's marriages, her annus horribilis in 1992, and the death in 1997 of her former daughter-in-law, Diana, Princess of Wales. However, support for the monarchy has consistently been and remains high, as does her personal popularity. Prince Philip. Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, is the husband of Queen Elizabeth II. Philip was born into the Greek and Danish royal families. He was born in Greece, but his family was exiled from the country when he was an infant. After being educated in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, he joined the British Royal Navy in 1939, aged 18. From July 1939, he began corresponding with the 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth, whom he had first met in 1934. During the Second World War, he served with distinction in the Mediterranean and Pacific fleets. After the war, Philip was granted permission by George VI to marry Elizabeth. Before the official announcement of their engagement in July 1947, he abandoned his Greek and Danish royal titles and became a naturalized British subject, adopting the surname Mountbatten from his maternal grandparents. He married Elizabeth on 20 November 1947. Just before the wedding, he was created Duke of Edinburgh, Earl of Merioneth, and Baron Greenwich. Philip left active military service when Elizabeth became queen in 1952, having reached the rank of commander, and was formally made a British prince in 1957. Philip and Elizabeth have 4 children: Prince Charles, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew, and Prince Edward. Through a British Order in Council issued in 1960, descendants of the couple not bearing royal styles and titles can use the surname Mountbatten-Windsor, which has also been used by some members of the royal family who do hold titles, such as Princess Anne and Princes Andrew and Edward. A keen sports enthusiast, Philip helped develop the equestrian event of carriage driving. He is a patron, president, or member of over 780 organizations and serves as chairman of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award for people aged 14 to 24. He is the longest-serving consort of a reigning British monarch and the oldest ever male member of the British royal family. Philip retired from his royal duties on 2 August 2017 at the age of 96, having completed 22,219 solo engagements since 1952. Prince Charles. Charles, Prince of Wales, is the heir apparent to the British throne as the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth II. He has been Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Ruthless since 1952 and is the oldest and longest-living heir apparent in British history. He is also the longest-serving Prince of Wales, having held that title since 1958. Charles was born at Buckingham Palace as the first grandchild of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. He was educated at Cheam and Gordonston schools, which his father, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, had attended as a child, as well as the Timbertop campus of Geelong Grammar School in Victoria, Australia. After earning a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Cambridge, Charles served in the Royal Air Force and Royal Navy from 1971 to 1976. In 1981, he married Lady Diana Spencer, and they had 2 sons, Prince William, born 1982, later to become Duke of Cambridge, and Prince Harry, born 1984, later to become Duke of Sussex. In 1996, the couple divorced following well-publicized extramarital affairs by both parties. Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris the following year. In 2005, Charles married longtime partner Camilla Parker Bowles. As Prince of Wales, Charles undertakes official duties on behalf of the Queen and the Commonwealth realms. Charles founded the Prince's Trust in 1976, sponsors the Prince's Charities, and is a patron, president, and a member of over 400 other charities and organizations. As an environmentalist, he raises awareness of organic farming and climate change, which has earned him awards and recognition from environmental groups. His support for alternative medicine, including homeopathy, has been criticized by some in the medical community, and his views on the role of architecture in society and the conservation of historic buildings have received considerable attention from British architects and design critics. Since 1993, Charles has worked on the creation of Poundbury, an experimental new town based on his preferences. He is also an author and co-author of a number of books. Princess Diana. Diana, Princess of Wales, was a member of the British royal family. She was the first wife of Charles, Prince of Wales, and the mother of Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, and Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex. Diana was born into the Spencer family, a family of British nobility, and she was the youngest daughter of Viscount and Viscountess Althorp. She grew up in Park House, situated in the Sandringham estate, and was educated in England and Switzerland. In 1975, after her father inherited the title of Earl Spencer, she became known as Lady Diana Spencer, a style she would retain until her marriage. Diana came to prominence in February 1981 upon her engagement to Prince Charles, the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth II. Their wedding took place at St. Paul's Cathedral on 29 July 1981 and made her Princess of Wales, Duchess of Cornwall, Duchess of Ruthless, and Countess of Chester. The marriage produced two sons, the Princes William and Harry, who were then respectively second and third in line of succession to the British throne. As Princess of Wales, Diana undertook royal duties on behalf of the Queen and represented her at functions overseas. She was celebrated for her charity work and for her support of the international campaign to ban landmines. Diana was involved with dozens of charities, including London's Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children, of which she was president from 1989. She also raised awareness and advocated ways to help people affected with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and mental illness. Diana remained the object of worldwide media scrutiny during and after her marriage, which ended in divorce on 28 August 1996, following well-publicized extramarital affairs by both parties. Media attention and public mourning were extensive after her death in a car crash in a Paris tunnel on 31 August 1997 and subsequent televised funeral. Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, is a member of the British royal family. He is the third child and second son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. At the time of his birth, he was second in the line of succession to the British throne. As of May 2019, he is eighth in line. He holds the rank of Commander and the honorary rank of Vice Admiral as of February 2015 in the Royal Navy, in which he served as an active-duty helicopter pilot and instructor and as the captain of a warship. He saw active service during the Falklands War, flying on multiple missions including anti-surface warfare, Exocet missile decoy, and casualty evacuation. In 1986, Prince Andrew married Sarah Ferguson. The couple's marriage, separation, and eventual divorce in 1996 attracted a high level of media coverage. As well as carrying out various official engagements, he served as Britain's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment until July 2011. Prince William. Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, is a member of the British royal family. He is the elder son of Charles, Prince of Wales, and Diana, Princess of Wales. Since birth, he has been second in the line to succeed his grandmother, Elizabeth II, who was Queen of the United Kingdom and 15 other Commonwealth realms. William was educated at 4 schools in the United Kingdom and studied for a degree at the University of St. Andrews. During a gap year, he spent time in Chile, Belize, and Africa. In December 2006, he completed 44 weeks of training as an officer cadet and was commissioned in the Blues and Royals Regiment. In April 2008, William completed pilot training at Royal Air Force College, Cranwell, then underwent helicopter flight training and became a full-time pilot with the Royal Air Force Search and Rescue Force in early 2009. His service with the British Armed Forces ended in September 2013. He then trained for a civil pilot's license and spent over 2 years working as a pilot for the East Anglian Air Ambulance. In 2011, Prince William was made Duke of Cambridge and married Catherine Middleton. The couple have 3 children: Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge. Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, is a member of the British royal family. Her husband, Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, is expected to become King of the United Kingdom and 15 other Commonwealth realms, making Catherine a likely future queen consort. Catherine grew up in Chapel Row, a village near Newbury, Berkshire, England. She studied art history in Scotland at the University of St. Andrews, where she met William in 2001. Their engagement was announced in November 2010. They married on 29 April 2011 at Westminster Abbey. The couple's children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis of Cambridge, are 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the line of succession to the British throne, respectively. The Duchess of Cambridge's charity work focuses mainly on issues surrounding young children, addiction, and art. To encourage people to open up about their mental health issues, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Duke of Sussex initiated the mental health awareness campaign Heads Together in April 2016. The media has called Catherine's impact on British and American fashion the Kate Middleton effect. In 2012 and 2013, Time magazine selected her as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Prince Harry. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, is a member of the British royal family. He is the younger son of Charles, Prince of Wales, and Diana, Princess of Wales, and is 6th in the line of succession to the British throne. He was officially styled Prince Henry of Wales from birth until his marriage, but is known as Prince Harry. Harry was educated at schools in the United Kingdom and spent parts of his gap year in Australia and Lesotho. He then underwent officer training at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. He was commissioned as a cornet, 2nd lieutenant, into the Blues and Royals, serving temporarily with his brother, Prince William, and completed his training as a troop leader. In 2007 and 8, he served for over 10 weeks in Helmand, Afghanistan, but was pulled out after an Australian magazine revealed his presence there. He returned to Afghanistan for a 20-week deployment in 2012 and 13 with the Army Air Corps. He left the Army in June 2015. Harry launched the Invictus Games in 2014 and remains patron of its foundation. He also gives patronage to several other organizations, including the Halo Trust, the London Marathon Charitable Trust, and Walking with the Wounded. On 19 May 2018, he married the American actress Meghan Markle. Hours before the wedding, his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, conferred on him the titles Duke of Sussex, Earl of Dumbarton, and Baron Kilkeel, all in the peerage of the United Kingdom. The couple's son, Archie Mountbatten Windsor, was born on 6 May 2019. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, is a member of the British royal family and former actress. Markle was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and has a mixed ethnic heritage. During her studies at Northwestern University, she began playing small roles in American television series and films. From 2011 to 2017, she played Rachel Zane on the American legal drama series Suits. An outspoken feminist, Markle has addressed issues of gender inequality, and her lifestyle website, The Tig, featured a column profiling influential women. She represented international charity organizations and received recognition for her fashion and style, releasing a line of clothing in 2016. From 2011 until their divorce in 2013, Markle was married to actor and producer Trevor Engelson. In 2017, she announced her engagement to Prince Harry, grandson of Queen Elizabeth II, and moved to London. She retired from acting, closed her related social media accounts, and started undertaking public engagements as part of the British royal family. Markle became Duchess of Sussex upon her marriage to Prince Harry in 2018. They have a son, Archie Mountbatten Windsor.